So, quick status update. We are currently wiring in the DC to DC converter. You can see it here. It takes the 100 volt of the, or 80 volt of the drive system and converts it to 12 volt, which has here a small relay and will then power the battery. This thing used to not have a 12 volt battery, so the DC to DC was always active. I added in the battery so I don't have as much drain on the drive battery when the car is just sitting around. Then here it's still chaos up there. The whole wiring harness is pretty bad. I removed a lot of the old junk. The BMS will also be replaced by a different one. The drive controller, you can see here, is also being replaced. We have to replace all the cabling of the battery system because we need more current. So those were 50 square millimeters, now we're going up to 75. This should be good for around 650 amps. The controller can handle 650 amps. Then we also need to change the cables to the motor because one of them seems to be fried, and find out what this mess here is. It was just laying in there. Okay, so quick status update. We have the controller wiring harness in. We have added a grounding screw here. Then we have here the 100 volt or 80 volt ignition signal, which gets its power from this main ignition switch. We have wired it in as follows, with the 12 volt, the pink one, going up to the fuse box back here. This feeds the whole car. Then we have the thick red one that goes to this little switch here, right, and goes to the DC to DC. Here we have the two 80 volt fuses. One of them is for the DC to DC and the other one is for the ignition system, so this will directly feed the controller input side on this white wire here. We also tidied it up a bit with zip ties. On to the next update. I have the main DC contactor in here. We have the main power lead going to the controller, just around the corner here. Then we have our E-stop temporarily wired in. This will be mounted in this hole. We have our BMS. It's a Boostec BMS, and here is the discharge relay. So this opens when the BMS senses an error or the battery is empty. We have the standard wiring harness in here, and we will put our cables next to it, so like here, and go back. Yeah, so it's cleaning up really well. We need to hook up the charger and do all the low voltage cables for stuff like the gauge cluster, and also the throttle pedal is not wired in yet. But I gotta get some light going. We have the high voltage cable from the battery in front coming in through a hole up there, which is open because Italian. And then we have the main contactor and the connections to it are hooked up, and this cable again goes to the controller. I tidied up the cables a bit so it will be looking nice. O'clock in the evening, so I've been working on it since 5:30 or something, so got some hours in. We have everything wired up here. These controller cables nicely tucked away. We have cleaned up here quite a bit with the power cables and signal cables, and in gray the controller cables going in front. So everything here is tidied up real nice. Yeah, quick explanation from the orange cable. This is fused but not on the contactor. We have ties to the key signal for the controller and to the charger. The low voltage side will be connected here. Here we have connections for the DC to DC, the charger, and also the heating system. Right, the heater is connected on the other side of the contactor and is controlled by something up here. We will have to figure out what does what. Okay, so I figured out a battery layout. These are quite old batteries, but they will work fine for this project. My idea is basically to put them like this. This one is just a different form factor, so I can stand it up. So I have 7 cells here, 7 cells on this side, and 10 in front, so outside. Now I just need to figure out how I'm gonna mount these, because I don't have much space in the height direction. So this is pretty much maximum height I can get in here. So I will probably just retain them on the side and put the seat on top here. Like, this will lead to some pressure on the cells, which they need. Yeah, that's the plan so far. Okay, so next update. We put the batteries in. We used some straps to tie them down. The straps are riveted to the floor, so this will keep them together and down. Then we have the BMS boards on each cell. We fully wired them in. We used expanding foam here in the back just to give some vibration dampening and to keep them nice and locked in. I made some custom battery tools. These are just normal wrenches, and I isolated them, so if I actually accidentally touch something with the wrench, nothing happens. Here, these blocks I can touch without a problem, because first of all, they are isolated from the chassis, and second, the voltage here I think is 24 volts, so not that bad. Okay, so this is the other side, so this battery is down, and here you can see the straps put in below the batteries and riveted them down. This will be the tie down straps for the battery. Also, I tried with the seat, it still fits, even though it's quite tight, but this will work out. Yeah. Here you can see the charger. We still need to figure out what this cable does, because this was connected to the original Tazzari harness, which is now disabled. But yeah, let's see. This cable here goes in front, as far as I figured out. I think it's actually this one here, which is to select the charging speed. Here we have the AC inlet. This is a European plug with 16 amps, single phase, 230 volts. So yeah. Also, we need to do the battery in front here. Still missing. So yeah, got some things to do, but it's going good. Also, I gotta mention, the chaos took over a bit. So yeah, gotta clean the mess up later. Super glad how much work we get done. I started yesterday at 5 and now it's Saturday 2 o'clock. Good, it's nice. So, update. I made this bar, this angle bar. This will go in front of here, so like this, and will keep the batteries from falling out. And because the Italians thought that a thin sheet of aluminium would be enough, and it does this, I want to stabilize it. I will put bolts in here and here and here, and this will keep them up there. Here we have the batteries to go up front, and else, yeah. Second side is done. They are connected through the thick orange cable here. Going good. And I laid the second cable up here, so this is the battery positive of the total battery, so they are all in series. And this is the negative from the front battery, so it's the positive from this battery. Its negative is connected to the positive of this battery, and that negative is the total battery B minus that gets connected to the controller, and this is the total B plus. What we need to do still is obviously put in the front battery. I gotta crimp on the connectors here, and also we have here the flat cable for the BMS bus, which is somewhere here. Yeah, you can see here, these are the BMS boards with the red connector on it, and this connector is for this flat cable, which will connect up the little power supply down here. Oh, it's really dark. The power supply down here, which is used to power the BMS when AC charging is enabled. So this will wake up the BMS. Also, here we have to add in the 12 volt ignition input, which will also wake up the BMS. Then here is the current sensor, which is on the cable here, and like I said, the ignition relay. Yeah, so that's about it with the latest cable. And obviously then we have all the drive electronics done. We still need to do like the dashboard and all the creature comfort upgrades. I'm thinking about getting AC unit for in here from AliExpress or something. Maybe you guys can recommend me something. By the way, if you ever want to come to Switzerland, don't expect summer to be like warm and pretty, because the weather has been quite bad the last few weeks here. Yeah, of course, I don't know if you can see. No, probably not. Yeah, you can. So now I'm wiring up the BMS system. For that we have the flat cable with some micro mesh, or they're called micro mesh connector, and these I just crimp together with this thing here. And yeah, so there is just one BMS bus. Normally you would have to like start up the BMS and connect one board after another while auto addressing, but because I addressed them beforehand to also check if they are still working, because they are quite used, I have them all addressed. To reset the address, there is a temperature sensor here which you can bridge and then it will reset, but this is annoying to do in the car. So if you would connect all and start addressing, every single one of these would have address 0. So this is why I had to do this beforehand. Now just one left in here, and then yesterday I also got the front battery done in the evening. This looks also quite neat. Here we have one dead cell which has 0 volts, which is just it has been dead for a long time, and it's just there as a placeholder because the battery format that I have is not the correct one. The original ones are like this one back here, same capacity, same voltage, same manufacturer, but they are wider and less tall, and these are taller and less wide. Lengthwise they are the same. Yeah, so that's, I had 4 of these and they made it so I could get one more in here, and yeah, I had this laying around, so that's why I have different formats. They are the same age from the same battery. That's why it's no problem to connect them together. Yeah. So. Okay. So I had to rewire some stuff. The DC to DC converter was at first directly connected to the battery input of the controller, but the controller has a pre-charge sequence, so when first key signal is turned on, it pre-charges the high voltage side or 100 volt side, and this powered up the DC to DC converter, which led to a pre-charge error on it. So I added this contactor, which is just key signal in, then feeds the controller with the key signal and also powers up the DC to DC. So now if I turn the key on, the BMS is starting. Then you can hear at first the ignition relay back there turning on. After some time you can hear this one, the contactor turning on, and last you can hear the main DC to DC, the main DC contactor closing. Here you can see we have 79 volts, which this all looks really good. Then next up we have the controller gauge which is turned on. We have one last issue to fix, or last. We have one more issue to fix. It's the Tazzari charger, which is just a modified Sibian NG3, I think. Sadly, they modified it in a way, so if I connect the charger inlet up here, you can see the BMS is starting again. Then the charger quickly turns on and then turns off again. Why that happens? No fucking idea. I will do some debugging and finding out, and then maybe I will know.